Hello everybody, it is Sydney or Autumn Plains, and welcome back to the channel. Today we will be doing a speed build of my resident rep's home. I had made a home in the DLC inspired by Bear in the Big Blue House. I wanted to recreate something like that for my island's aesthetic, and I figured it was finally time to give my hard-working rep the home she deserves. I'm so excited to be making more content this year, so with that aside, let's go ahead and get straight into it. So, I did a little happy dance because I spent 2 whole real-life days trying to get the right placement of my house and the bridge behind it. I really liked how it looked when Jess did it. I will link her socials in the description. But for now, I'm just getting a general sense of how I want things to be laid out by adding the flowers I want to use, the fencing, and some of the items for sure that I know I want to use, especially the scooter. If you recognize the area that I'm building this in, it's because it's where I had Sasha's vintage farm before. You may have seen it while I'm running around in my Twitch streams or in the previous video that I uploaded. I had to move his house because this was the only place I could make this house look right to me without tearing down the rest of my island, and I really did not want to do that. So I kept some of the same items like the windmill and the fencing, because I still wanted this to look like a farm or farmhouse, but with a vintage touch to it. I guess you could say that's the theme I'm trying to accomplish with my whole island maybe. I really don't know. I'm laying down this dirt path that I found. It actually has a variation with mushrooms on the edges instead. I'll make sure that I have the creator codes in the description as always. Speaking of codes, I'm apparently obsessed with making blanket areas on my island. So that's what I tried to do on the side of my house, but it didn't work, and it's probably best that I slow down on how many of those I make. I still got something out of that though. I used the codes and the items as a color palette of sorts to use. I find that keeping a general color palette in mind helps when I'm struggling on which items I want to use. For this, I wanted my white, beige, and blue colors that I plan on using throughout my whole island. It also happens to match the colors I used to customize the house exterior. I did struggle with laying down the path a little bit. I looked up things like vintage farms and cottages, and took inspiration from screenshots of cozy video games that had dirt roads leading up to the houses. Finding reference photos for what you want to build is helpful. However, don't stress about making an exact replica of what you see, because sometimes it just isn't possible. And I find that things look a little more natural if I just use those as a general guideline rather than something I have to strictly follow. Now that I have the paths mostly figured out, this needed some nature up in front. So I'm moving some trees around and using different sized ones to add depth and dimension to the build. I also moved any fruit trees to the back since I wanted the house and bridge to be the focal point, and the oranges just didn't work with that. I tend to forget that the stumps are a beautiful and natural way to decorate a space, so I put one at the front of the house. It adds nature without adding height or blocking anything. This flowery path with the pops of blue is so pretty. It was hard to try and work it into this and make it look like it belonged there. However, I do think that this does look very nice next to the stone bridge. The oranges on the trees felt like too much, but I still wanted a small pop of color. The yellow in the tulips matched with the center of the white cosmos I used, and their shape somehow feels just right for the vintage vibe. One of my favorite items to use is the clothesline. It just feels right for a countryside, natural, cottagecore, or vintage theme. The blanket coat I used underneath also really ties that theme together and makes the space look more lived in. I could have just left the water terraforming as just a pond, but it didn't look complete to me. I quickly added a small waterfall behind it. I don't know about you, but I get sensory overload with big, wide waterfalls because they get so loud. They look amazing. I just wish Nintendo would let us adjust the volume of outside noises for those of us with sensory sensitivities. I'm planting azalea bushes to add more nature to this. I was tempted to use blue hydrangea bushes to add more blue, however, they don't bloom in October. I thought about time traveling back to March, but the weeds don't look like they have wheat growing from them, so I'll have to see about that. Also, I prefer the way the blue hydrangeas looked in New Leaf. I know New Horizons has better graphics, I just think that the hydrangea blooms in this game look more like blobs than individual petals. That's just me personally though. If you like to use them, I think that they look very pretty in certain circumstances. Speaking of wheat, I had to buy more wheat fields to add to the farminess of the house. I know that's not a real word. Anyways, I added the rest of those off camera and added more flowers and custom codes as well. I don't remember when I added the envelope code, but I wanted it to look like someone was coming along on the scooter to deliver the mail. I don't know why, but I felt like that was an important detail to me when making this. And that, my friends, is the end of the speed build. I hope you all enjoyed this as much as I did making it. I can't wait to make more content. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and ring the bell if you want to see more like this. Thank you and have a great day. Bye!